What are the risks of bariatric surgery? Here on this channel, I spread so much positivity about how weight loss surgery was the best decision that I've ever made for myself. But with any surgery, there are inherent risks. For more of that positivity and real life after weight loss surgery, please make sure you are subscribed here. We have such a wonderful, beautiful community in the comments section, and I would love for you to join and be a part of our growing, supportive BariTale community. To my newbie friends, hey girl, I'm Chelsea. I am a fellow VSG patient of almost 5 years. I have managed to lose almost 100 pounds and I've kept that off throughout the past 5 years. I'm a bariatric support coach now and I'm here to bring you the real about this surgery. And while today's video is not intended to be a Debbie Downer negative chit chat, I do want to talk about some of the potential cons, specifically around any and every type of weight loss surgery. I just want you to know exactly what to be aware of when you're headed into it, because these were things that I was not aware of, and my goal is always to give you as much information in an educational and entertaining way as possible. So the first one may seem obvious, but bariatric surgery is in fact real surgery. I think it's so easy to focus on the after part of surgery, the after effect, the life that you're about to have, the body changes, etc., that we tend to forget that while we're actually undergoing a procedure, we need to rest and recuperate. This is real surgery. All weight loss surgeries require anesthesia, which is another phrase for like putting you to sleep medically, and recovery, which is exactly what I focused on last week's video. I will leave that here for you. And not that I think there are any of the upcoming or following people here, but in case you think bariatric surgery is the easy way out, let me insert real footage from the first few hours of my post-op life.
Well, if we're being very honest, this kind of sucks. Ouch, hiccups. I'm less than 24 hours out of surgery. I've been resting a lot and drinking water in medicine cups. I'm supposed to get through 4 of these 8-ounce bottles, and I've had this one since 5:30 this morning and I'm not done with it yet, so slow going. I did try to eat some soup, promptly barfed her up. There's been some barf, although there's nothing really to throw up. There's been the act of barfing, which is usually just like a lot of trapped gas, because that's the most uncomfortable part. Like the incision area is sore, and I think can be modified with Tylenol. My morphine pump is gone already. I'm not on any heavy drugs, but the gas part, nothing alleviates that, and it's just like sitting here in my chest. So I've been trying to get up and do some walking by myself in my trusty bag-a-rooney, but that's where we are. So I'm scheduled to go home tomorrow. I don't know how I'm gonna sit in the car and not throw up. I might have to bring a bucket with me. Any type of movement usually makes my stomach go crazy, so that's where we are. Fingers crossed it gets better from here. I'm just trying to be patient, give myself some grace, and go slowly. So that's update number 1 post-surge.
Within the first 24 hours post-op, up to several weeks and potentially several months later, you might actually feel regret toward this decision. I immediately did. I opened my eyes after being in the operating room, tried to take a deep breath, felt immediate tightness in my chest due to all the gas that's pumped in. The pain hit and I thought, being fat isn't that bad. I'd like my old stomach back, please. Then the wonderful nursing staff, they brought in my first meal post-op, which was just straight up liquids, right? I took the tiniest sip of a clear broth and promptly threw that up. Like, as I could feel the liquid going down, I was gurgling saying, I need a bowl, and it came right back up. That hurts when you're throwing up post-op where your stomach has quite literally just been operated on. That hurts. I regretted this choice. I wanted my old stomach back. I will say that after my first 24 hours passed, I have never once thought that statement again. But I want you to know that if you are thinking that, or you're worried about thinking that immediately post-op, that you're not alone. And some people experience regret for longer. We'll get into that later. Food intolerance is also a popular risk, meaning that more people experience some type of food intolerance than people who don't. When you're post-op, your diet is liquid and then mushy and then soft foods. So your intolerance is relatively high right away after surgery. And the assumption is that this type of intolerance will change, but that's not always the case. As you know from previous videos where I share all with you, I still experience dumping syndrome almost 5 years later. I will leave that video linked here for you. It's such a joy. And dumping syndrome, which is its own potential con, is due to an intolerance for high amounts of sugar post-op. Other food intolerances truly range. They run the gamut. And from my experience, my lived experience, I can no longer eat my beloved barbecue steak tips. I can eat soft steaks, which is essentially filet mignon. And yeah, okay, that's great and bougie and delicious, but gone are my summer days where we're doing turkey or steak tips on the grill and I can cut one up into tiny bits and swallow it. It just doesn't sit well in my stomach and it doesn't digest well. It makes me feel terrible. I can't have that anymore. I don't really like donuts, cake, cupcakes, all of these really beautiful gourmet desserts. Not on my menu anymore. And honestly, my adjustments are not severe. These are all things that are doable and workable in a daily routine, but I don't think that that's always the case. I know from working with some of my clients that their food intolerances are fairly severe. Now, that's not to say that everyone experiences food intolerances, and I'm not trying to scare you. Honestly, I feel like if you can't think of yourself making adjustments for what foods will work for you post-op, maybe this isn't the surgery for you because it's unlikely that you would be willing to make those lifelong changes. Not everyone experiences them. I'd like to reiterate that, but I also want you to be okay if you are someone who has a food intolerance post-op. I know we've talked about this and we're going to continue talking about it because the hair loss con is very real and no one is immune to it. It's maybe one of my most frequently asked questions. It's scary. Nobody has weight loss surgery to then become bald in the post-op process. Because of the aggression of your hormones shifting post-op, your body is going to cling to every hair follicle that you have for around 3 months. And then when your hormones start to stabilize, and that's a good thing, you will experience the first shed. There are absolutely preventative measures for just how much hair you will lose, but you cannot prevent the shedding altogether. You can encourage the regrowth and the preventative nature of a huge shed with things like supplements. Of course, we love a biotin, collagen, thiamine supplement. You can wash your hair less during the week, not add as much color or heat for damage purposes. You can use red light therapy. There are all kinds of things that you can do to help this process. Would you like an updated hair health video? In the last few, I've been wearing it much more naturally with less product in it to see if I can get the natural wave to return for summer, but it is definitely softer, shinier, and healthier in person. So if you'd like an updated hair health video, please let me know in the comments below. Body dysmorphic disorder, commonly known as BDD, is a post-op occurrence that happens fairly regularly due to the fact that you are losing weight at a much faster rate than you have likely ever lost it before. A misnomer about BDD is that it's about the physical body because the word is body dysmorphic. However, BDD is a mental health issue. Body dysmorphic disorder suggests that the mind cannot see what truly is. And I know that sounds very philosophical, but essentially what your mind sees is not the actual reflection of what's in the mirror in terms of your weight and your loss. Those who experience BDD continue to look for flaws when they look in the mirror, and we're going to segue that in just a moment. But the idea is that when looking in the mirror, hopefully one is seeing the progress of weight loss, the body transformation. But if you have body dysmorphic disorder, you only see the things that you perceive as negative post-op. This is all about mindset. No matter how much weight you lose, no matter how small your body becomes or how much muscle your body gains, if you suffer from body dysmorphic disorder, you will only ever see the fat person who was there before. BDD ranges in severity. I did an entire video dedicated to this because I think it's a fairly serious and also widespread symptom of weight loss surgery. So I'll leave that video here. And one of the things that BDD patients focus on is the loose skin. Do you see that? I feel like this arm has more loose skin than this arm, which is ironic because this arm is stronger. I don't know if you can see this burgeoning muscle, but like my loose skin is definitely like, it's smaller on this side. That's so interesting. I filmed an older video on this when I was in the heat of losing massive amounts of weight. I'll leave that here, but if you are interested in like what a 5-year loose skin video looks like, let me know. And you might not be, because so much of my social media, which you should be following me on, features me in shorts and bathing suits. So you are seeing a real life depiction of that loose skin, not a curated edit. But I will say, I think my loose skin in my arms is definitely better. I don't know if it's very different in my tummy and my thighs. Some loose skin, like mine, is more of like a pain or a nuisance, not an actual medical situation. And I received a comment on YouTube that said, based on my loose skin video, I mentioned that I wouldn't at the time be interested in pursuing surgery to remove my loose skin, and a lovely woman commented and said, well, yeah, that's because you don't have to, but for some of us, this loose skin isn't just a pain or isn't just something we don't want to see on our shorts. It actually prevents us from living healthy, happy lives. So I want to acknowledge both sides of this. My loose skin bothers me, well, bothers me because it's aesthetic. When I put shorts on, I feel like I have way more cellulite, jiggliness than I did when I was fat, because that loose skin was filled with actual fat. I work really hard to tone it. I strength train 4 to 5 days a week. I'm lifting heavier weights. I can feel myself getting stronger. I'm doing push-ups. So I know I'm toning. It's just like every other weight loss situation, not happening quickly. And as of right now, I still stand by the fact that this is not something that I would have surgery for yet. But I might change my mind in the future. I want to leave room for that possibility. For some who lose far more weight than I do, particularly those who have gastric bypass, they lose so much more weight and their skin tends to be loose in a way that it creates folds, which can be really difficult to dress because you have to tuck your skin into places. It can also cause like rashes and be really uncomfortable. This would inspire someone to have skin removal surgery. And I've talked about the different types of that. Some clinics will have a plastic surgeon on hand so they can do it with really small scarring. I was told that it would be entirely medically out of pocket, around $10,000, and this was 5 years ago, and that the scars would cut all the way down my arm, across my stomach, and then they tighten and pull. So the scar itself doesn't actually feel to me like it would be better than my loose skin that currently exists. And there's big recovery time for that. So that's not an option that I'm interested in pursuing yet, but just something for perhaps you to like be aware of. Is there a risk that I've talked about so far that you are worried about more than others? If so, tell me in the comments and I can do a more deep dive into that particular one. I think the most common risk post-op is FOMO. It's the fear of missing out of what normal tummies get to experience, especially during experiences like travel or the holidays. I do have a Disney after weight loss surgery video coming up for you soon, so make sure you are subscribed for that. While I'm not 100% sure that FOMO ever goes away completely, I know it gets better. It's easier to handle, and again, this is a mindset adjustment. FOMO lives here, not in your tummy. For me, I've rephrased this for myself, and I know I've shared this with you too because I hope the reframing works for you, but it's about the bites I get to have, not the ones I'm missing out on. You know the story after my first week of surgery. I've shared it here. If not, here is the too long didn't read version. 7 days after surgery, I went on vacation with my family, and that included my husband, my daughter, my siblings, their spouses, and my parents. My mom rented us a cabin. It was like a full-size, lovely cabin mansion house in New Hampshire. And I literally went from my weight loss surgery clinic to be cleared for driving up to New Hampshire same day, 7 days post-op. Do not recommend. In the house that my parents rented, the kitchen was filled with all of my favorite triggers. Chocolate chip cookies, Diet Coke, fast food. Everything I love and struggled with was in that kitchen, and I was slurping on sugar-free popsicles in order to save my mental health. I was so frustrated. Not with them. My surgery is not like their responsibility. However, I was frustrated that I was using so much mental energy to execute my willpower to not have or not even want to have those things while I was drinking water, protein shakes, and eating popsicles as like the only real sustenance in my diet at that time. This was FOMO at its finest, and I put myself in a situation, going back, of course, retroactively, I know this wasn't the right decision, but I put myself in this situation where I had to test my wills every single day that I was on that vacation, and it was so hard. My FOMO led me to not wanting to miss out on family fun, so I sacrificed my mental health. And it's not something I'd recommend that you do, and it's not something I'd ever do again. Don't be me. Learn from my lived experience. This last one might be a bit controversial because it's something you can no longer use or do after surgery. Can you guess what it is? Did you guess binge eating? Or really any type of emotional eating? Eating after surgery, no matter how far out you are, becomes an intentional act that can no longer be used to satiate your uncomfortable emotions. Understanding this conceptually and knowing how to execute or handle this are two very different things. Firstly, if binge eating or emotional eating has been your go-to, like it was mine, I want you to acknowledge the fact that you're being honest with yourself about something that might make you uncomfortable. So the idea that after surgery, I could even acknowledge that binge eating is something that I was doing via fast food on my way home from work pretty much every day made me feel embarrassed and guilt and shame, which is what I talked about in that video, which I will leave here. So even just admitting it feels like a bit of a victory now. And I would say this type of self-reflection is in fact a non-scale victory. I have a tool that I built for myself. I started this in my notes app, and it was something that I was using every single day to help me learn to intuitively and mindfully eat. And then because of your requests, I turned it into a free PDF for you. It's kind of like a checklist. I'm gonna leave that in the description box below. It's called Mindful Eating. It's absolutely free. So if binge eating or emotional eating is something you've struggled with pre-op and the emotions for that are lingering post-op, this could be a really helpful tool for you. I do hope you'll check that out in the description box, and please share with someone that you think might benefit from this. Mindful and intuitive eating is not something that comes easily for anyone who's ever struggled with body issues, but you don't have to be going through weight loss surgery to use this tool. So please be sure to share, and I really appreciate you supporting me as well as supporting people you love. Speaking of which, I love you. I love you. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you are enjoying the June content thus far. I know it's been weight loss surgery focused, and it will be for a few more weeks. And then we get into the joys of planning and packing for Disney and Hawaii and all the fun things. So stay tuned if you are just a Disney friend and you're not here for the bariatric content. I appreciate you. Be patient. It's coming. I hope you're having an amazing week and a warm and glorious summer so far. I will see you next week, same time, same place. I love you. Goodbye, beautiful.